Fantastic Voyage, 1966, wasn't just groundbreaking science fiction. It was a production nightmare with a plot hole so massive it would kill the patient.
That affected me very much.
Isaac Asimov declared the script full of errors and rewrote the ending. A crow stole the submarine model. Raquel Welch's wetsuit scene required 3 takes because actors couldn't stop grabbing her breasts. And the film's biggest flaw? The submarine left inside would expand and explode. These are 16 facts. Sold to Universal. On one-page description, producer Saul David and director Richard Fleischer sold Fantastic Voyage to 20th Century Fox, based on a one-page description. The studio greenlit the project without reading a complete script. Fox executives believed the miniaturization concept alone would sell tickets. The production budget reached $5 million, making it the most expensive science fiction film ever made as of 1965. That one-page pitch described scientists shrinking to microscopic size and injecting themselves into a dying man's body to perform brain surgery from inside. Fox committed millions based purely on that concept. The studio gambled that Oscar-winning special effects would overcome any storytelling weaknesses. They were partially right. The film won 2 Academy Awards, but showed a slight loss initially before television sales made it profitable. Isaac Asimov called it hack work. Bantam Books approached Isaac Asimov to write the film's novelization for a flat fee of $5,000 with no royalties. Asimov's immediate response, hack work, beneath my dignity. He refused the offer outright. Bantam persisted for weeks. Finally, Asimov agreed to read the screenplay. After reading it, he told the publishers the script was full of plot holes and scientific impossibilities. Asimov believed miniaturization violated fundamental physics, and the storyline contained fatal logical flaws. Bantam gave him permission to rewrite whatever he wanted to fix the problems. Asimov accepted under those conditions. He began writing May 31st, 1965, and finished July 23rd. The book appeared 6 months before the film's release, causing many people to mistakenly believe the movie was based on Asimov's novel. The submarine, left inside, would kill the patient. The film's biggest plot hole involves the Proteus submarine. In the movie's ending, the crew escapes through the patient's tear duct before returning to normal size. The submarine remains inside the body, along with the dead saboteur's corpse, digested by a white blood cell and several gallons of carrier solution from the injection syringe. Isaac Asimov immediately identified the fatal flaw. When the 60-minute time limit expires, everything shrunk would return to normal size simultaneously. The submarine wreckage would expand to full scale inside the patient's body, killing him instantly. This wasn't dramatic license. It was a plot-destroying mistake. In Asimov's novelization, he fixed the problem by having the crew provoke a white blood cell into dragging the submarine wreckage out through the tear duct before expansion occurred. Raquel Welch's wetsuit molded to her body. Raquel Welch's iconic white wetsuit was custom-made from a mold of her body to fit like a second skin. The production created the wetsuit in 2 pieces, trousers and a jacket with a zipper at the waist. Welch wore this suit for hours daily for almost a year during filming. The tight-fitting costume became one of cinema's most memorable images, launching Welch's career as an international sex symbol. This was her first major film role. She had previously only appeared in small parts. Producer Saul David's wife recommended Welch for the role. Welch won the part by demonstrating she could run down a long flight of stairs gracefully without looking at her feet. Her appearance in that wetsuit overshadowed her actual acting performance. The Antibody scene required 3 takes. The famous scene where Raquel Welch gets attacked by antibodies required 3 separate takes because of inappropriate actor behavior. Director Richard Fleischer initially allowed the male actors to grab whatever they wanted while removing the antibody props. Being gentlemen, they specifically avoided touching Welch's breasts. The result looked ridiculous, creating what Fleischer described as a Las Vegas showgirl effect, with antibodies covering only her chest. Fleischer pointed this out to the cast. On the second take, the actors all immediately reached for her breasts. Finally, Fleischer realized he would have to choreograph exactly who removed what from where. The third take, with precisely planned choreography, appears in the final film. The antibody props were made from special plastic created specifically for the movie after the first batch melted under stage lights. Filming at LA Sports Arena required daily teardown. The underground government facility sequences were filmed at the LA Sports Arena. The production rented the arena's network of tunnels, which resembled the Pentagon's underground passages. However, filming faced strict time constraints. The entire production had to pack up and store equipment by 5 p.m. every evening to avoid interfering with sporting events held at night. Cast and crew worked frantically during daylight hours, then completely vacated the premises. Stephen Boyd's character being driven through the facility on golf carts wasn't originally planned as commentary on bureaucracy. Golf carts were simply the fastest way to move actors through the sports arena's lengthy corridors during limited shooting windows. The time pressure created authentic urgency in the performances. A crow stole the submarine model. During production, the effects team built two 3-inch Proteus submarine models for the miniaturization sequence. One model was left beside an open window during a break. A crow flew through the window, grabbed the submarine model, and carried it away. The effects team never recovered the miniature. They had to rely on the remaining model for all subsequent miniaturization shots. The missing model forced the production to carefully plan every shot using the surviving submarine. They couldn't afford mistakes or damaged footage. The crow's theft added unexpected stress to an already complicated effects schedule requiring 5 months of post-production work after principal photography wrapped. Swimming scenes shot dry on wires. The sequences showing crew members swimming outside the submarine were filmed on dry sound stages with actors suspended from wires. The wires created additional danger for the performers. To prevent reflections from the metal wires appearing on camera, effects technicians washed the wires in acid to roughen their surfaces. The acid treatment made the wires more likely to break, increasing risk for actors suspended above the stage floor. To create the impression of swimming through viscous fluid, scenes were shot at 50% greater speed than normal, then played back at normal speed during editing. This technique made the actors' movements appear slower and more resistant, simulating movement through blood and other bodily fluids. Director Fleischer was a pre-med student. Director Richard Fleischer had studied pre-med in college before switching to filmmaking. His medical background proved invaluable during Fantastic Voyage's production. Fleischer understood human anatomy well enough to discuss scientific accuracy with medical advisors. The production hired technical advisor Fred Zender, who had previously worked on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in 1954. Harper Goff, who designed the Nautilus submarine for that Disney film, also designed the Proteus for Fantastic Voyage. Fleischer's medical knowledge helped him visualize how miniaturized humans would experience traveling through arteries, heart chambers, and brain tissue. His scientific literacy prevented even more egregious errors than those Isaac Asimov eventually corrected in the novelization. 17 weeks of filming, 5 months of effects. Principal photography lasted 17 weeks from summer through fall 1965. Filming wrapped in June 1965. Then began 5 months of intensive special effects work. The effects budget consumed $200,000 of the film's $5 million total budget. Post-production extended into 1966 as effects teams created the elaborate internal body landscapes. Production designer Jack Martin Smith and Dale Hennessy won the Academy Award for Best Art Direction for their intricate sets depicting blood vessels, heart chambers, lungs, and brain tissue. The sets combined practical effects, matte paintings, and forced perspective techniques to create convincing microscopic environments. Effects work continued until weeks before the film's August 16, 1966, premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater. The miniaturization sequence is real-time. The film's miniaturization timing follows actual real-time. Once the crew miniaturizes and enters the patient's body, exactly 60 minutes of screen time elapses before they must escape. The filmmakers structured the entire middle section as a ticking clock thriller. This real-time approach created authentic tension as viewers could track the remaining time themselves. The 60-minute time limit wasn't arbitrary. It represented the limitation of America's miniaturization technology compared to the superior Soviet technique the defecting scientists supposedly possessed. The entire Cold War subplot revolved around this technological race. The real-time structure made Fantastic Voyage one of cinema's earliest examples of the one-hour countdown thriller format, originally conceived as Derek Flint's spoof. At one point during pre-production, Fantastic Voyage was positioned as one of the Derek Flint spy spoof films starring James Coburn. Both the Flint movies and Fantastic Voyage were produced by 20th Century Fox and Saul David. Early script pages included in the 2012 DVD release show Stephen Boyd's character, Charles Grant, being identified as Flint. Some of Flint's signature wisecracks about not wanting to be miniaturized survived into the final script, spoken by Boyd's Grant. The production eventually abandoned the spoof approach, deciding serious science fiction would work better than spy comedy. However, traces of the original Flint connection remain in Grant's characterization as a wisecracking secret agent skeptical about miniaturization technology. No music for 4 reels. Composer Leonard Rosenman created an unconventional atonal score featuring no traditional music whatsoever in the film's first 4 reels. The opening 40 minutes contain only sound effects, dialogue, and atmospheric sounds. Rosenman didn't introduce actual musical scoring until the submarine enters the patient's bloodstream. The score then emphasizes electronic and experimental sounds rather than traditional orchestration. Rosenman's approach created unsettling atmosphere during the setup while saving emotional music for the journey itself. Critics praised the unconventional scoring as enhancing the film's documentary-like realism during early scenes. The absence of music made the special effects sequences feel more visceral and immediate when they finally arrived midway through the runtime. Harvard Lampoon named it Worst Picture. Despite winning 2 Academy Awards and receiving generally positive reviews, the Harvard Lampoon declared Fantastic Voyage one of the 10 worst pictures of 1966. The satirical publication mocked the film's plot holes, Cold War cliches, and scientific impossibilities. The Lampoon's review highlighted exactly the problems Isaac Asimov had identified: miniaturized objects left inside the body, the absurd 60-minute time limit, and the unexplained physics of shrinking matter. While mainstream critics praised the visual effects and imagination, Harvard's comedy writers couldn't overlook the logical problems. Roger Ebert also gave mixed reviews, calling the special effects impressive but questioning the storytelling. The split between visual praise and narrative criticism defined Fantastic Voyage's reception. Asimov wrote sequel. 21 years later, Isaac Asimov remained so dissatisfied with Fantastic Voyage that in 1987 he published Fantastic Voyage 2: Destination Brain. Despite the title, this wasn't a sequel, but a complete remake with entirely different characters set in the Soviet Union. Asimov retained only the miniaturization premise while crafting his own scientifically rigorous story. He wanted to prove the concept could work without plot holes if written properly from the beginning. The second novel was twice as long as the original novelization, with more detailed scientific explanations and fewer action sequences. Critics found it technically superior, but less entertaining than the first book. Asimov finally had complete creative control, but the story lacked the original's pace and excitement. The saboteur's body remains inside Dr. Michaels. The saboteur, played by Donald Pleasance, dies inside the patient's body after being consumed by a white blood cell. In the film's ending, his body remains inside, digested, but still miniaturized. When the 60-minute limit expires, Michaels' corpse would expand to full size alongside the submarine wreckage and injection fluid. The film never addresses this fatal consequence. Isaac Asimov found this particularly disturbing because it meant the patient would die anyway despite the mission's apparent success. In Asimov's novelization, the white blood cell containing both Michaels' remains and the submarine wreckage follows the crew out through the tear duct, expanding harmlessly outside the body. The film's failure to resolve this created its most memorable plot hole. They left the submarine inside where it would expand and kill the patient. They let actors grope their star 3 separate times. A crow stole their only spare submarine model, and Isaac Asimov had to fix their fatal plot hole in a book he initially refused to write. Fantastic Voyage won 2 Oscars despite logic that would doom its own patient. Subscribe for more films with spectacular effects and spectacular mistakes.